Hello everybody and welcome back to Victoria, where I believe that this is going to be the final episode of this series. We'll see if we manage to make it into the end date here this episode. I'm pretty sure we will. Even if we don't, we may go slightly over on this episode, because I'm certainly slightly concerned about the next episode being like 5 minutes long at that point. We'll see how that goes. We know at this point, like intellectually, that as long as our economy is set up, we can defeat Great Britain. So to be honest, at this point, I'm not thinking about doing overtime, like I've been talking about. I'm leaning against it. Reason being, at this point, I know full well, like I have 100% confidence that we can take over the world from this position. 100% confidence. Why do I have that? Because of how strong we are when we turn our military up. We can start the snowball. So the way that that would go, given sufficient time, and also this kind of assumes that the tech tree would continue, right? Like, this would assume that we're not going into overtime. In terms of, like, real world, we would keep up in terms of tech. And more importantly, once our economic base was established, we'd start taking over these areas. A lot of them that are not controlled by Britain, like, for example, Afghanistan, we'd start taking over those locations and developing those similarly. And from there, the snowball would just roll, right? And that is how this goes. There's no way around that. At this point, we are objectively, economy notwithstanding, the strongest force on the planet. Our military is ridiculous. And we can utilize that to make our way into places like Afghanistan. Our economy is serviceable. It's not perfect. We would be able to develop it over time the way we are, spending down our debt. By the time our debt is spent down, we would definitely expect that we would have a pretty solid economy at that point. And we can definitely deficit spend to take over some of these other areas, right? So in theory, like, taking over China would be super doable. 2,600. We can almost take them over with our military power down. Almost. So that's all things that are definitely true. So I think that we'll be moving on. I would like to try East India Company again with the knowledge that we've gained from this. I've definitely learned a lot from this playthrough. There were certainly mistakes made, no doubt about that. And that's good. We like it when we make mistakes, because that means that we learn things from those mistakes that we don't make in the future. This is a very, very good thing. Understanding exactly how the vassal relationship works like this, we're now also going to be much more comfortable with having vassals of our own in the future. So that's all exceptionally good. What is this? A diplomatic play in North India here. Interesting. And Britain's not in this? Fascinating. Okay, we'll keep an eye on that. This also is free from Britain. We should probably conquer this state. Great Britain might join either side or remain neutral. If they did, we would have some problems there. But Britain is currently cooperative towards us. We're going to improve relations with Britain for right now. If we were to start this up, we shouldn't need to raise our military unless another great power joins. And what do we think the odds of that are? France likes us. Spain likes us. The US likes us. China doesn't, but China's also not that much of a threat. This is very interesting. We can start conquering these areas, and that will start improving our power levels. Now, I do want to check in here. We should probably be able to put in that, or attempt to put in the law change, right? Regulatory bodies at this point. So we can probably work our way towards that. So a reform of the government would ditch this, and put in the trade unions. That would put us at 23. We would have to cut taxes. And this close to our credit cap, I feel like that's not a great option. I think going after these guys and starting that snowball that I was talking about is a reasonable option. So let's give that a go. We can always back off of it. I don't know what their war goal is going to be. The US is immediately leaning towards these guys. Thanks for that, US. Okay, I'm going to mobilize this force here, and we're going to go advance this front. And if we need to turn up our military expenditure at all, then we can. But I'm just going to mobilize the singular army. And they're probably going to back down. We'll see if the US decides to join them. Currently, everyone else is remaining in the neutral column. So that's definitely noted. Cool. They might try to sway the US here. That would be interesting if they did. But I feel like this sort of opportunity is exactly the kind of opportunity that we need, right? This is what starts the snowball. We take states like this, Afghanistan, and we just start pushing into the non-aligned states, is the way that this would end up happening. And we can also periodically fight Britain. We know that we can beat Britain as long as our economy can sustain it. So that seems reasonably fine. We're about halfway through this diplomatic play. Nobody has joined in yet. Okay, North German Federation signed a peace with Great Britain. So we'll see what that ends up doing. And we're keeping an eye on this situation over here. If Communist Orissa takes over Orissa, we can definitely conquer them as well. That would be the plan there. I also want to hop into our buildings and make sure that everything is set up to auto-expand. Looks good. But this is it, right? This is absolutely the start of the snowball. And that's great. We're very, very pleased about that. 97% advantage over here right now, and that's even with our army turned down, right? And our GDP has climbed up to about 500 million again. Cool. And nobody's joining. Cool. We're now officially in the countdown to war. No one can join. Do we turn up our armies just to force them to concede? These guys want a defensive pact with us. Who are they? Is that someone out over here? Is that someone near us? Where are you? Oh, you're out over this way on Borneo. I feel like we don't have any interest there for now. So we're going to decline that. Cool. Nobody's going to join this. So now the question is, what is their actual power level? We need to look at the actual nation here. 29. I feel like we don't need to raise up our military at all in terms of their tech. We should pretty easily win this, I think. We'll see how this first battle goes, but I do expect to win this pretty easily. We're also making nearly $1 million a month now, or rather a week. It's a week tick in this game. Okay. We're losing the battle. Noted. So with that being said, we're going to need to turn up our military somewhat. Mechanized infantry is going to eat up basically all of our income. And there's not really a point in being at this level until that battle is over. Cool. Britain wants a trade agreement. Sure. We're going to lose this battle, and that's just because our military is as cheap as possible, right? I was hoping we'd be able to get away with this. The answer is we can't. That battle is now over. We're going to bump up to mechanized infantry. Just doing that bumps us up to 17,000 in terms of power. Cool. So these guys are suddenly going to be a whole lot more powerful. We are running a deficit for a little bit here. which is to be expected. And we're losing this battle as well. But that's probably because these guys are... They don't have their supplies in yet. It'll take a little time. That's reasonably expected. These trade routes are currently inactive. These are considered negative right now, financially. So we'll get rid of the unproductive and inactive trade routes. And losing this battle is definitely awkward. A socialist demagogue, huh? How radical. Okay. Losing this battle is very awkward for us, for sure. But as our supplies come in here, it takes time for that to switch over, right? So we were just being greedy, and we'll bump up our supplies. Eventually, this battle will end. Although this war is somewhat expensive. We knew that this would be the case. This is not surprising. None of this is surprising, really. Okay. So these guys are going to get stronger and stronger, really. We could mobilize these guys as well and send them over, which we'll go ahead and do. We'll see if we lose this battle as well. We should be a little bit stronger now. Oh, wow. We're still losing this. Okay. 26 to 13, but it's because of our offense only being 34. We're just going to be less greedy now. We'll send in basically double the amount of troops. And in theory, these are going to be quite a bit better troops. We could bump up our military expenditure in our economy tab, and that's probably a good idea. So we'll go ahead and do that for now. We're just being less greedy now. We're just trying to feel out where exactly... Whoa, hang on a moment. This just updated. We're winning. I didn't realize that changing the military expenditure updated in combat like that. I assumed that it would have to wait until the next combat. That's good to know. That could theoretically be gamed pretty heavily. So you turn it up like this, you let the battle get into this position, you turn it back down, or if you really wanted to micro it, you just turn it up and then turn it down right before the weak tick. That would be the way to do it. And you only have it up except for that one tick right there. That would certainly be the way to go. Okay. Well, this war is virtually over at this point. They are going to lose this really, really hard at this point. To that end, we should probably... That should be their full occupation, right? We can certainly go into our buildings here and turn this back down to irregular infantry. This still has our military expenditure up, but that's fine. Okay, yeah, that did update, but it's too late. They don't have the forces to do anything about this. It's just going to be a little rough for us to actually attack here. Cool. It seems fine. Ish. So that updates as well. Fascinating. So if we were to do this again, this bumps back up to 35. Yeah, so technically what we should do is pause the game right here. Since that live updates, go down to irregular infantry, let the tick go by, and go back to mechanized infantry like that. If we wanted to really min-max it. But at this point, of course, there's not really that much of a point to it, in my opinion. I mean, this battle is over. We should have done it again there if we wanted to really min-max it. But the battle is over, and they're fully occupied at this point, I think. No, there's going to be one more here, so technically we're going to have to keep going. It's tedious to min-max it like that. But that is a thing that you can do. Now, it does take time for the equipment to fully switch over, I believe. And I'm not going to do it that way because I feel like that's a really gamey way to do things. People want defensive packs with us. That's hilarious. We're not going to do that. And yeah, you can see here the offense is slowly increasing. The highest offense in the world is 178.5. We don't have our offense turned up anywhere near that high. So that's fine. But yeah, this can definitely easily be gamed to where, in theory, you can have virtually all of the benefits, right? So hypothetically, what we would do is we would have these turned up to maximum. Like this. This updates on the day tick. Or not even on the day tick, on the, I guess, time of day tick. And then you run like this up until, well, I messed it up there. I didn't quite go far enough. But you run it until here, and then you turn it down, and then you turn it back up after the tick. Would be the way that that works. Now, it doesn't fully give you the full benefit of it. If you're fighting a powerful opponent, that's not going to be useful. So you'd pause it here, and then you'd turn these down. Like this. And then run it. And then you turn it right back up. In this case, all I'm going to do is I'm going to leave us like this. I don't like playing like that. I feel like that sort of micro is really gamey and not very indicative of how things would work in reality, which is what I'm more interested in. So we're going to leave it like this instead. And that is them not quite fully occupied, actually. Okay, cool. Oh, that's the end date. Okay, well, we're going to go into overtime here. We're going to continue playing. And we're going to play as India. But we're just going to go until the end of the game here. So, or not the end of the game, the end of this episode. Like I said, the snowball is rolling at this point. And they just capitulated. Cool. So we can now turn down our military, like so. We're making 1.48 million, and we're going to need to... Okay, we can't actually expand any of that. Is there anything that we can build out over here? Well, yes, actually. Lead mines, which is very useful for us. We can only build one, but there's also some agriculture that we can build here. So 0.11, 1.76, 1.88 for opium. That makes sense. Cool. So we'll just max out all of that as opium farms. Excellent. And that would be the way forward for, like, all of ever. If we had broken free from Britain a lot earlier, that's what we would have been doing for a lot of this game. But I kind of messed up that early game. There's no doubt about it. And we'll try East India Company again at some point. But I'm really interested in trying out China and playing this unrecognized regional power thing, or I think they start as an unrecognized major power. You have to get recognized and get all that set up, but they have so much population to work with. Not with the Heavenly Kingdom down here, but they have Europe that's going to be a jerk, but in theory, it should be interesting. No doubt about that. So that's going to be the next series, is playing as China. After we're done with that, we may revisit East India Company. I do think that we can definitely play this a little bit better. No doubt about that. We ran into this last time where it wasn't playing music during the... it actually is. This is just a silence period. Okay, I think there is music playing here. Maybe. But after the game ends, it doesn't seem to like to play music very much, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if that's a bug or what. But regardless, like I said, this is the path that the snowball would be on. Orissa exists over here. We could conquer them. And I think that we definitely do that. So at this point, we start worrying about our infamy, right? But we don't have much at all. So we go ahead and confirm this. There we go. And we're not going to raise our military yet. Let's see here. Everybody's in the neutral column for now. We'll see if anybody has sways, but I kind of doubt it. These guys are landlocked, so it should be okay. And look at this. There's now these guys that are free as well. I guess Britain is freeing some of these. Cool. So we would definitely work our way and start conquering all of this as the campaign goes forward. That would be the way that that would work. We'll see if anybody joins this. If we need to back down, we can. War reps would be painful, but not the end of the world. So that'll be fine. We would be forced to transfer 10% of our treasury income to the other for a duration of 60 months. Okay. So presumably that would be like 600,000. I'm assuming that would just be based off of our national revenue. That seems about right. So nobody's joining on either side here. Not yet, anyway. And Orisa doesn't actually have anything in terms of military. They have a couple of conscripts. 10 battalions of conscripts. Have they started conscripting, though? I'm not convinced that they have. And nobody's interested in actually helping them. So this is looking good. With that in mind, once we hit the countdown to war, we'll send these guys on over. Flamethrowers have been unlocked. Cool. That's convenient. And we're going to mobilize these guys, send them over soon enough. So they'll just go advance this front over here. We may as well send them now. We're basically in the countdown to war. Fireside chats, huh? Authority or interest group approval from the landowners? We'll actually take the interest group approval because that will increase our income slightly. And we're interested in paying down this debt that we've built up. Cool. Everybody's declaring neutrality. No shockers here. Come on, Britain. Come on, Austria. You guys can declare neutrality too. You physically can't join at this point, so it's completely fine. War has broken out, and they have 1 conscript battalion. So I don't think we need to turn anything up here. We're being very greedy with this war, but I think we can honestly get away with it. Yeah. They just completely lack the numbers to do anything here. So we can be, like, super duper greedy. I like it. So like I said, this is the snowball. This is the snowball. This battle will be absolutely fine. And they're actually fully occupied. Oh, nope, not quite. There's this up over here. Now they have 2 conscript battalions. I'm terrified. Absolutely terrified. Cool. So, yep, we're completely fine being greedy here. No problem whatsoever. We're continuing to pay down our debt, and that will be great. Our economy is fluctuating fairly wildly, but that's kind of normal. Not too concerned about that one. And there we go. They are now fully occupied, and they'll capitulate shortly. Right? They'll capitulate shortly. Maybe. But we just continue to work our way through all of these. Eventually. I guess we're just going to have to wait for their war support to decay. They don't have a way to fight at this point. There's no point in continuing this. Unless they just want to cause us issues with our economy. Which, fair enough. Fair enough. We've hit almost 60% literacy, and that's continuing to skyrocket. So that's very, very good. We do still have that general strike, which is kind of going to keep going forever until we get regulatory bodies, which eventually we'll be able to pass. Eventually. We're not really at a point where we can lower our taxes yet, though. Cool. Well, they're about to go under 0 here. Minus 10.5. Okay. Secession in Persia over here. Fascinating. The Afghan uprising? Cool. Out of curiosity... Okay, they're improving relations with Britain. Sure. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities here for us to really start to expand now. And this would be the snowball. It's very, very late. And that is all because of that early game. Lessons were learned. And what were those lessons? Well, we need to get that reform done. And we need to say, screw our legitimacy. We just got to force it through. That's the way that that works. As long as your legitimacy is high enough to pass laws, you can just use Britain to suppress any rebellions that are going to happen. So you just gotta force it. That's the way that that works. Shockingly, these guys are not capitulating. We're just going to propose that peace deal. There we go. They capitulated now. Sure. So that's Orisa under our control, and I don't believe that we can expand our military there. No, we cannot. But what we can do is build a couple of iron mines, a couple of lead mines, a couple of fishing wharves, shockingly, considering that they were fully landlocked. Okay, interesting choice. And probably Opium. 1.79, let's see here, 0.18, 1.45, 1.31, 0.38, 0.66, 1.45, 1.79. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Opium is still the best. There we go. So we'll get that all constructing. Fantastic. And with that, it is time to end this series. Things went a little off the rails. They weren't quite what we expected, but I learned a lot about how to play as a vassal of Britain. That's for sure. And future games where we play as a vassal of Britain are going to go very differently. I think that's very clear. But the campaign is going to end there. We are past the end date as is, so that is completely fine. China is going to be the next campaign. I can already tell you that, and that should be a very interesting one. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, James, Shadowwolf, Mlohan80, Rogue Corvid, Kintogan, Spartan News, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Anna the Elephant, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.